I'm Chrissy, and this is a tiny bookcase. And today I want to share with you some lovely books from my library collection that I believe fit the cottagecore aesthetic. I understand that is very popular at the moment, and I thought I would share some of these books of mine that I feel share the aesthetic, and I hope you enjoy this video. So cottagecore celebrates simple living, such as mending your own clothes and creating your own clothes, sewing them, and baking bread, and just focusing on more of a simpler lifestyle. And I thought that I have several books that kind of meet this criteria and aesthetic. And so the first book I want to share with you is Alice in Wonderland. And this is actually one of the oldest books in my library collection. This edition of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. I purchased this several years ago, and I think that the vintage quality of it obviously kind of goes into with the appeal of cottagecore, but as well as the aesthetic of the setting for this story and during the time it was created definitely fits that aesthetic. So this copy that I have, I actually never read. I purchased it a long time ago from a half-price bookstore, and I noticed it was quite old. I was thinking I was going to actually pull out the illustrations because it is an illustrated copy. But when I got it home, I realized that this book is quite old. I don't know exactly how old it is, but this receipt fell out of it. And if you can see in the corner, there is a date which says December 11th, 25. So we are in 2021. We have not hit 2025 yet, so I can only deduce that this is actually from 1925, perhaps. I don't have a copyright date on my copy of this book, so I have no idea if this, and I have no idea if this receipt belongs to this book because it does not give a description of what was purchased, just that it was it cost $2.25. That this receipt says this is your receipt, and it shows the correct amount of your purchase. J.D. Van Winkle Company, Retail and Wholesale Booksellers and Stationers, Books, Toys, Dolls, and Novelties, 1603 Elm Street, Dallas, Texas. So we do know that this was, they did sell books, but they sold other things as well. And it doesn't have a description, just the amount of the purchase and the date and the serial number of this receipt. So perhaps this book was from that time period, but it is quite old, and I don't tend to take this book out often. Here is one of the colored illustrations that I decided not to tear out. I decided to keep this book intact because I felt it was an older copy, and I thought it would be a shame to destroy it. So I just kept it intact, and I actually keep it away in my curio facing outward because I love to see this illustration from the cover of Alice and the White Rabbit amongst the flowers and all the greenery. So definitely I believe that this book fits the cottagecore aesthetic. Another book I want to share with you also is Little Women. Totally same type of time period. These sisters definitely would have mended or sewn their own dresses and baked bread and did all those kind of cottagecore activities that we see in the TikTok videos. So this book, if you have in collection, I definitely believe that this novel by Louisa May Alcott would fit the cottagecore aesthetic. Another story that I think perfectly is in keeping with Cottagecore is Anne of Green Gables. This is just a total celebration of what that movement is inspired by. We hear a lot about creating the meals in the kitchen, Anne and Marilla, and how Anne just goes for romps throughout the island of Prince Edward Island, and the beautiful descriptions of all the beautiful places that she has discovered with her friend Diana, and her beautiful descriptions. It's just a delightful tale. I recommend this book if you have not ever read Anne of Green Gables. I believe you will just adore it. And I think if you're into cottagecore, this is just a book that would be right up your alley. So I definitely recommend you go out and pick it up. This edition I received in Coffee and a Classic, the April children's book box. So it's a very beautiful edition. It's an illustrated classic, so there are some beautiful illustrations in here as well. There are several colored illustrations, but there are also some smaller black and white smaller illustration. Here's another beautiful colored illustration. It's a very beautiful book, and then you see a black and white one. It's a beautiful color outside. It's embossed with this fuchsia foil. It's just a pretty copy by the I don't know who's the publisher. I'll have to do some research and put that in the description box below. But my next book is Pride and Prejudice. Again, the Bennet sisters would have created their own dresses. They they would gather their own embellishments for their bonnets and headdress, and they talk about their walks around their garden and their courtyard. Of course, they did have servants, so they didn't exactly bake their own bread, but a lovely story in keeping with cottagecore as well, I believe. And this also is an illustrated classic. It's one of my favorite copies of Pride and Prejudice that I own. I have another and a treasury of that Jane Austen novel. So, but this is one of my favorite ones. Oops, there's another one. There are some colored illustrations. I just haven't found a page with one to show you. I can always, here's one. This one is Catherine grows quite a good looking girl. I believe that might be Darcy's sister. Oh my goodness, if I'm wrong, I am going to be admonished by the Janeites. Please don't hold it against me if I am wrong. But it's a very lovely colored illustration. There's several through this book. It's, again, like I said, one of my favorite of the books that I have of Pride and Prejudice. So now I have some more modern contemporary books to share. This is a Jane Austen illustrated treasury. So this just talks all about her life, and obviously would have inspired her stories. So definitely would be in keeping with a cottagecore book. So it's a very beautiful book, and it has a lot of mementos and descriptions of her places where she lived and where she wrote, and there are beautiful illustrations from her stories. I believe this one might have been for Sense and Sensibility, but I am not exactly sure. And there are actually some mementos from, here we go. There's clear envelope actually contained some illustrations from her books. So I took these out in a previous video, and I forgot to put them back in, but they belong in this clear envelope. And there's others throughout this book. Some contain reproductions of letters that Jane Austen wrote and received. Here is the envelope with those reproductions, and lovely scenes from the stories that were inspired in her novels. And so I think this is a beautiful book that would be in keeping with cottagecore aesthetic. Now I have the next book is the Garnishee Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, which is a huge mouthful, but it's a very lovely book. It's told all in letter format, so this whole story is told in letter format. It's about a writer who is contacted by one of the members of the Potato Peel Society, and it talks about the occupation of their island by the Germans. And the writer is so intrigued that she takes a trip to meet the members, and she's thinking she's going to write a book about the story. So it's a very interesting and lovely story. I think that this book would be in keeping with cottagecore aesthetic because of the beautiful the beautiful description of the islands and of their simple way of life. It is a little bit a darker story compared to the other stories that I have mentioned previously, but I think that you will enjoy it as I did. It was a very long time ago, so a lot of the story escapes my memory, but I do believe that Netflix actually picked this up and made an original. Either it is a movie or a series. I am not sure which, but I do remember seeing it in their library recommended to me. I'm not sure if it's still up, but if you are a Netflix subscriber, you might want to check that out if you're interested in this story. And the last book I want to share with you today in this video is The Apothecary's Daughter. In this story, we hear Lily, who works in her father's apothecary, and she actually is dreaming to leave her town and go out and discover life outside of her town. And she eventually is invited on a trip to London. But we hear in this story about her father's apothecary shop, and how they make their remedies for their townspeople, and how they grow their herbs that they use to create these remedies. They have a garden in the back of the shop, and it's just I just love the story, the description of their goings on, and the shop. And I guess I'm just in love with those kind of stories, apothecary shops and bookshops and libraries. As soon as I hear that, I'm hooked, and I just need to read the book. So this is the last book that I want to share with you in this video. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and yeah, let me know what books did you think also fit the cottagecore criteria and aesthetic. Again, I hope you found value in this video, and if you did so, please hit the like button and consider subscribing for more videos like this. Until next time, I will see you again soon. Take care and God bless. Bye.